Hey everyone, and welcome back to Ontario Cryptids. I hope you all had a wonderful week and weekend. I'm already noticing the leaves are dropping and changing color in my backyard. Anyways, it is great weather to take a hike. Today I have 3 Reddit encounters to share with you all, so let's get started. If you've been enjoying my content, why not take a quick second to hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell. That way you will never miss out on the latest episode and you'll be joining a community of like-minded individuals who share your interests. Let's keep this journey going together. Thank you so much for your support. If you have an encounter story that you would like to share, then please forward your stories to OntarioCryptids@gmail.com. I would be honored to share your story with like-minded people. Now sit back and relax as we begin with today's episode. This first one takes place in September of 2023. We're going to be heading to Kings County, Washington, and the area in question is Stevens Pass. I had a strange encounter last year, and I'm thinking about it again now that September has rolled around. I was doing an easy 5-mile hike near Stevens Pass in Washington. It was a beautiful fall day, sunny and cool. It was a weekend, and the forest was silent. I didn't see any other cars at the trailhead or see any other hikers the entire time. It had been a perfectly quiet hike. The only sounds I heard the whole time were small animals and birds, chipmunks, but the lake was totally silent. Anyways, I was hiking around the north side of the lake, and I started to get a weird feeling, like everything was too quiet, and kind of felt like I wasn't alone there. I thought maybe there was a bear or something nearby, so I turned around and went to the south side of the lake, which was much more open and had good visibility. I felt fine there, so I picked out a sunny spot and I started to pull out my lunch out of my backpack. As I was getting comfortable, that's when I heard a single loud wham from the north side of the lake. It was a wooded sound, like if you smack a tree with a giant branch. It was a single note, not a cracking or breaking sound, so I don't think it was a falling tree or branch breaking. I froze. I was watching and listening for anything, but there was no other sounds. After a few minutes or two, I decided to get the hell out of there, and I didn't run, but walked very quickly back around the lake and started back down the trail towards my car. I hustled down the trail about a mile, and by then I was feeling silly, like I was running from nothing. So I stopped and pulled up my lunch out of my bag. I was there for maybe a minute when I heard some rocks falling from behind me up the trail towards the lake. After that, I just hauled ass all the way back to my car. I didn't want to find out if something was following me. At the time, I just went home and didn't really think about it, but looking back, I believe I heard what others have described as a wood knock. I think they wanted to warn me to leave and follow me for a bit to make sure that I left. I wish I had more evidence to show than memories, but I will be thinking twice before I go back to that particular hike again. The next one takes place in the 1980s in Arlington County near the city of Alexandria. Now, this takes place in a campground. Now, there's many campgrounds in Alexandria, so I just randomly chose one. I had an encounter back in the late 1980s at a campground in Alexandria, Virginia. Me and 3 buddies were looking for work. We all lived in far western Maryland. There was hardly any work in the area. We were camping at a campground because none of us had any money for a motel room at the time. There was only us 4 and 2 other families, but they weren't near us. We came back to the campground after a day of job searching. It was dark, about 9:30 or 10 at night, when we got to the road to the campsite. It was a dirt road that was an uphill climb. So as we were driving up the road to the campsite, the moon was shining and lit up the roadway. As we approach the top of the hill, about 500 to 600 feet away, we all see a big tall being covered in hair. The moon was behind the creature, so we got a good look at it as it crossed the road. The road was about 8 feet to 10 feet wide, enough for 2 cars to come and go. The creature came out the right-hand side of the woods, glanced our way, took 2 steps, and walked across the road and into the woods on the other side. It was that quick. It was scary as hell seeing this thing, as it was every bit of 8 to 9 feet tall and huge. We didn't even try to go after it. We drove fast past the area where it went into the woods. We were driving way too fast, but there wasn't anyone hardly there. But we made it back to our campsite, packed everything up, and got out of there. Needless to say, our job hunting ended that night. But what I'm writing is a truth. I have no need to make this stuff up. 2 of my buddies that were there that night have since passed, and there is only me and my other buddy who was doing the driving and that have seen this thing. We still talk about it every once in a while, and we didn't go around bragging about it thinking people would think we were crazy. But in all honesty, we saw what we saw and there is no mistake in what it was. We didn't smell anything bad. I guess the wind was blowing in the opposite direction. But when I say this thing was huge, I mean it was huge. It could have ripped a grown man in 2. Seriously. I clearly remember it took 1 step onto the road. Its foot was in the middle of the road. Then the next step, she was gone. It crossed that road in maybe 1 or 2 steps. And we are talking a road that's 8 to 10 feet wide. Enough for 2 cars to drive in opposite directions. Wishing we all had cell phones back then. We definitely would have gotten pics and footage of this thing. I know people are going to say that I'm full of but seriously, we have nothing to gain, and this happened back in 1985, 1986. I'm serious as all hell when I say that those things exists. They actually do, and I don't care what anyone says. I know what I saw, and that's the truth. For the people who don't believe, I hope and pray that you also have an experience one day. Then you'll realize that what everyone thinks doesn't exist actually does. Oh, by the way, it did look at us coming towards it. We never really got a good look at its face. The moon was behind it. We saw a shadow of its face, and it was so quick. It walked out, it took a step, and was across the road. That quick. But by the build, the hair, and the step that it took to clear the road, it was obvious what we've seen. Thanks for reading my post, and I promise everything that I've written is the truth as I remember it. It's something that I'll never forget as long as I live. So whomever thinks that I'm making this up, you're nuts. I hope and pray that one day you have an experience like we did. Then you'll believe the unbelievable. I was a skeptic until I saw what I saw. Thanks for reading my post. And trust me, every word I've written is true. This next one takes place in 2009. We're heading in and around the location of Lone Butte in British Columbia. This experience is one I've never shared with anyone besides my brother. When I was about 13, I was living in rural BC. One night, I was in the hot tub on the deck outside just watching the woods, taken in the silence. It was wintertime, and we recently had a snowfall that left around knee-height deep of snow. It was around 2 or 3 a.m., and out of nowhere, this very large wolf, bigger than the one I've ever seen before, came out of the woods. I remember its coat being a shimmering silver and its bright, piercing green eyes. As this wolf was walking along the fence of our paddock, it locked eyes with mine, and we just kind of stared at each other as it walked past me, both along in the middle of the night and in the middle of nowhere. What happened next, till this day, instantly makes my spine shiver. As the wolf walked past, he walked towards our barn with our horses in it. It became darker as it entered the barn, but the other side of the barn still had a bright light illuminating the outside that I could clearly see. This wolf, as it entered, halfway through it went from the shape of a wolf to a very large, broad-shouldered person. The horses didn't make a single sound, and this person that now stood roughly 7 feet tall rounded the corner towards the open field but didn't emerge from the other side, and I never saw it again. My brother had his own encounter with the same wolf, I'm guessing. He told me that he woke up randomly one night from the feeling of being watched. He then looked out of his window to see a very large wolf walking away from his window, so I'm guessing it was watching him sleep. This place we lived at was old native ground. Our barn was an old schoolhouse where the Catholic priests would put the native children and teach them lessons on Christ. It even had the old desk and chairs inside still. My brother and I have both seen children's faces in the panes of the glass from that barn, and lights turning on randomly. We've had closet doors slam repeatedly for minutes at a time, footsteps and feelings of being watched. In my room, I saw glowing red eyes on the ceiling, and I hid under my covers till morning. Anyways, my main subject for this post and what I'm more seeking answers for is what did I encounter outside in the middle of the night? After I looked around myself, the closest thing I could find was a skinwalker or a wendigo, but from what I've read, these creatures have deformed features or things that make them uncanny or straight up horrific. What I saw, nothing struck me as abnormal about this wolf besides its massive size until it literally changed its entire form in front of me. I know this is a long-winded read, sorry. I'm not a great storyteller, and there's just so much that I've experienced at this property that this just scratches the surface to everything. The wolf incident is just something I've never really been able to grasp and always wanted some kind of answers, but it feels and sounds unbelievable. I also understand that the term skinwalker is Navajo lore, and it doesn't correlate with BC tribes, but this is just a representation of what I saw with the closest accuracy. Well, that's going to wrap things up for today. I do want to thank Reddit user Salagoat for letting me share his encounter. Please assist Salagoat with what you feel he may have encountered 15 years ago in BC. Just so you know, that's the very last story that I told. Thanks, everyone. Now, to acknowledge the current OC members, I would like to thank Elizabeth, Jim, Diana, and Teresa for their contribution and support as members of the OC community. If you wish to learn more about our OC membership program, you can check out the membership video to get a detailed description of all the perks you will receive. Don't miss out on the adventure and become a member today. If this story reminds you of an encounter that you may have had, then please forward your stories to OntarioCryptids@gmail.com. I would be honored to share your story on this channel. Thank you all for listening until the end. I truly appreciate it. Please hit the like button on your way out and smash that subscribe button if you're new to my channel. And don't forget to hit that notification bell. Anyways, guys, have a wonderful weekend, and I hope to see you all next week right here on Ontario Cryptids.